Really?
Mikasa Sukasa. You Eddie, right?
Yeah.
Look like Eddie Guerrero, man. You like to watch wrestling?
Yep.
Have you ever watched wrestling? On weed? That's the way to see it, man! It's rock!
What up, world? It's your boy Physics, and you know what time it is. It's April 18th. Welcome to another WoW news show. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me with the Denzel finger pointing right at you, and I appreciate that. On today's episodes, we talk about what the huge news could be that Tony Khan is going to give us on AEW Dynamite this Wednesday. We're also talking about name changes once again when it comes to WWE and more right after this.
Really? This is my yard now. It doesn't matter what
Now let's get into it. But before we get into it, shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Our leader, Laylo in the chat. Wow Nation in the building. Kid, get money in the building. So you know we can't go wrong with that. If you're watching this on a replay, make sure to leave a comment in the comment section. I will reply with anything that you write there. Now, let's get to the first news joint of today, and that is, what does Tony Khan have for us on Wednesday? Now, it's already been rumored that it's possible that it could be a Ring of Honor broadcast deal or a streaming deal for AEW. Well, some people have otherwise. Not according to Ringside News. According to them, Tony Khan's next huge announcement could be an AEW-NJPW joint show later this year. A snippet of an audio from the Super J cast was shared around social media with the theory that Tony Khan's huge announcement is AEW New Japan show in Chicago on June 23rd, which is a Thursday. Now, we already seen a little bit of back and forth going on between AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling, of course, with Murder Grandpa Minoru Suzuki, wrestling a lot on there. We also have this past week, Juice Robinson's contract up is with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he already says that what is next for him is already in the making. That possibly could be him being with AEW. And then this week, a Sports Illustrated interview that Okada did. Of course, we all know Okada is one of the greatest New Japan Pro Wrestling champions of all time and one of the greatest wrestlers in the world today. Um, his interview from January has been popping up all this week. And it's kind of weird that it's been popping up all this week due to the fact that it was in January. Why are we talking about something, an interview in April? But it seems all of the talks about what happened in that January interview is because of what's going to happen next. And let me just break down what he said in that. And in that interview with Sports Illustrated, he stated, Danielson and Punk will make for some incredible matches. A lot of those dream match scenarios are about getting excited for the possibility, and once the match is done, it's done. So it is important to keep that excitement in anticipation, I think. Still, if we wait too long, they'll both retire eventually, so I want to face them both while they're still active. He also talked about his Chaos crew and a bunch of them that are in AEW. The best friends were part of Chaos when they were in New Japan, and with the door to AEW being open a bit, it added more possibilities. Tomohiro Ishii was able to come to AEW from Chaos, and if Orange Cassidy and the best friends were able to show up in New Japan, there was no doubt that that would be fun. The sooner the whole pandemic settles down, the better as far as that's concerned. And as I reported last week, a lot of New Japan Pro wrestlers are getting their visas as we speak, which means they're getting their visas because they're traveling to the US. Of course, they already have the New Japan shows happening in June as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case of them coming into the USA. They're do a joint match, a joint super show with AEW, and that's just nothing but greatness in there. I mean, if we get Bryan Danielson versus Okada, like, sign me up. I might have to make a trip to Chicago to see that live. I've seen Okada live, especially with All In, and why not have it again? Like, we can bear greatness to what could be AEW versus New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I feel like that's the type of shot in the arm that AEW needs. Not saying that they've been bad or they're not doing it, but it seems like after WrestleMania, WWE has just kind of just like steamrolled them as far as everything that they're doing. And AEW has done a little bit of fumbling, especially with things like Sanam Singh. And they've had bigger matches, but them bringing in the eyes and the views haven't really shifted. They just stayed in that 900,000 to a million range. And it would really be good to have, especially after the NBA playoffs are over, June 23rd, they will be cleared from the NBA playoffs, and they can just start their new path on what they're going to do next after an AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling event. So it seems like if that's going to be the case this Wednesday, that, like, it would help a lot. Um, and it just makes it like, as much as WWE is doing right now, it just makes it seems like, hey, you know, they should have least, for when it comes to WWE, they should have least had that MLW thing done, and at least be still tied to them and having tried to have this open door between MLW and WWE. We had it open up a bit when it came to Mickey James appearing on at the Royal Rumble, but that was pretty much it. That's all we've had so much as far as the WWE. But I really feel like this tying to each other that new AEW has done with the Forbidden Door is going to be the thing that always makes them different. And it's going to be the thing that always makes people want to see what AEW does next. And if WWE wants to, you know, fiddle with it or mess with them when it comes to that, they have to get involved. And until then, every week when Tony Khan makes an announcement, it's going to be exciting. And I get it. He's doing it to make sure that it get views and stuff like that. And I feel like with the rumbling that this is the possibility, they're going to be over 1 million because people are going to want to know, are we going to see New Japan Pro Wrestling versus AEW? And I wouldn't be surprised if we get it, that Kenny Omega is going to show up. As hurt as that man is, that's an event, especially for the first time, that he is not going to miss, especially when you're going to have Bullet Club proper doing their thing against AEW. So that's just where we are right now. Of course, we have Lalo say he'll definitely go to see an AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling show. And I'm not mad at that. That's definitely the case. And then we have an outside wrestling thing, and it's Suns coming out the West. The answer is yes. Yeah, I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, come on. Like, there's no doubt. Ain't like we the Lakers. Anyways, moving on to the next segment. That is the name changes in WWE. Can't stop, won't stop. On Friday, PW Insider made note of the fact that WWE applied to trademark the following names: Roxanne Perez, Alba Fire, Cruz del Toro, and Katana Chance. Now, insiders reporting 2 of those names have been assigned to already established talent currently signed and working in NXT 2.0. The artist formerly known as Kayla Ray, UK champion, dope wrestler, would now be called Alba Fire, while former American Ninja Warrior Casey Catanzaro would now be known as Katana Chance. Roxanne Perez is former Ring of Honor Women's Champion rok-c, while Cruz del Toro is Raw Mendoza. This falls in line with recent word that Vince McMahon has decided he doesn't want talent using their real names or names previously established on the independent scene before coming to WWE. Now, changing the name of Raw Mendoza, since he's now kind of looks like he's ousted from, the whole Legado del Fantasma, Cruz del Toro, not that bad. Rok-c, she's just getting into NXT. Unless you know the independent scene, you really want to know her name that much, other than, she is a wrestling prodigy, started wrestling at 14, 20 years old now in NXT. Turn her to Roxanne Perez, not bad. We've seen a bunch of Casey Catanzaro. Why change her name? Get it, that's her real name, but she's also known outside of wrestling. And it seems like when it comes to WWE, if a person's known outside of wrestling, because she didn't wrestle until she got to WWE. You already knew her name. You brought her in because of her athleticism and what she did in American Ninja Warrior. Why would you change her name? That doesn't make sense. But the biggest one, Kayla Ray. We know everything that she has done as far as wrestling, especially in NXT UK. If you were going to change her name, you should have did it before she won the championship in NXT UK and had a huge and long reign. And then what is the point of bringing her to NXT 2.0 as Kayla Ray, and now she's Alba Fire in the middle of it? Like, it's the same thing with Walter. It's like you brought him in as Walter, you had him as Walter for the longest, and now he's Gunther. I don't get it. I don't get the name change. Like, I feel like if this is what you're going to do it before they get there. Once they're established, don't change their name. Have them grandfathered in. That's their name because they came in before the cutoff date. They came in before the cutoff date and they wrestled a bunch of matches and went for titles, especially Casey Catanzaro. She's been up for the women tag team titles in NXT before. You just gotta let it go. You're just like, we missed out on it. because it looks stupid in hindsight of changing these names mad late. So I just don't understand it, and I don't understand the purpose for it. Dave Favor said these sound like names of talents who's going to be released in 6 months. I love Kayla Ray. She has a ton of talents. I would say when it comes to rok-c, Roxanne Perez, she ain't being let go. Raw Mendoza, possibly. Kayla Ray, she shouldn't be let go. Casey Catanzaro, I don't know what they're doing, or it's possible they could let her go as well. But trademarking those names and then just firing them as soon as you trademark them doesn't really make sense as well. Why trademark them when you're just gonna get rid of them in the next few months? You could just get rid of them and then just move on. But WWE does WWE things, and we just don't know. K Get Money says Kayla Ray should join Imperium. I agree. Actually, I miss WWE having women in their stables, and like in all men stables, like you usually have one or maybe two. Because it just made it look badass. I don't understand why WWE just stopped doing that. Like they haven't really done it in years, but like you have the bloodline. Like it would be great if Naomi was running with them. I feel like a heel Naomi and a heel Sasha Banks together running with the bloodline works great. Kaylee Ray with Imperium would work great. Or Alba Fire now. But it's like it would be great to have women and men run around the stables and stuff like that. I mean, they barely have women's stables. They had that little run of the four horsewomen and different things and like bad and brown, like all that stuff back then that really didn't make sense. But like, you know, that's one thing WWE just kind of just falters on a lot outside of the bloodline. And what seems to be Edge's crew, and hopefully Edge brings in a woman. Um, is the whole stables thing. Like they used to be gods at it, and then they just kind of done whatever they done. But Lalo says keep the bloodline, the bloodline. Well, I mean, that's where Naomi comes in. She's part of the bloodline. And if you ask Paul Heyman, he always says who says she's not already in. That's what he always states. So that's just where we are right now. And then I was like, you could give the boost to Tamina having her there as well. But it is what it is. We have no idea. And as Ladle says, stables are always better with a lady in the group. Yeah, because she's always the wild card, and usually she's always the one you have to check. I mean, it worked for Legado del Fantasma, and then she kind of took over. But it is what it is. But like they're always the wild card of the group, and especially if they're strong, because then they can take on other dudes. Like that's kind of why Rhea Ripley would work well with Edge's group because she could get in the ring and use them shoulders on any dude that's in the ring. Like she could definitely clothesline the hell out of AJ Styles. Like if AJ Styles is going to lose a match and it looks like he's about to go off the ropes, next to she slides under, clotheslines AJ Styles, hit her finisher. Damian Priest gets the 1, 2, 3, and then we know that she's a part of them. That works greatly. That's how you should do it. And that's how you should bring her in. But we will see. We will see. But name changes. WWE constantly. Can't stop. Won't stop. Now let's get to some unfortunate news. And this unfortunate news pertains to Jonathan Gresham. The ROH and Progress World Champion Jonathan Gresham is dealing with an injury, as told through a tweet by Progress Wrestling. The promotion posted a video of Graham revealing the injury and apologizing to fans for missing out on upcoming appearances. The newly signed AEW talent was checked out for a possible concussion following his match against Dalton Castle this past Friday at Battle of the Belts taping, according to Fightful Select. It was noted that the concussion likely came when he took a bump on a head/shoulder from a gut wrench suplex. Gresham just signed an AEW contract, technically an AEW contract, but he will keep wrestling for Ring of Honor. So wish him a speedy recovery so he can get back to doing his thing. And the thing that's crazy is that it seems like he did have a concussion, that he then had to take those chokeslam bumps from Sandem Singh right after that. It's just an unfortunate stance of where he had to be at that moment. So he'll be okay in a few weeks. especially what Laylo says. But, you know, wish him a speedy recovery. Now, let's get to some quick hits. Recent advertisement have led to talk that WWE sees Cody Rhodes as a top strong Raw brand and he'll be pushed accordingly. There was an advertisement that was on TV this week on NBC and it showed Raw. Raw on one side, USA Network, and the person they had on that side was Cody Rhodes, and then it showed SmackDown, Fox, and the person on that right side, Roman Reigns. So Cody Rhodes is the top guy, which means when that internal news came out that Bobby Lashley was the number one baby face on the Raw side, I feel like it shifted, and now Cody is the number one baby face on Raw. Per Fightful Select, the Rhea Ripley versus Naomi match on SmackDown this past week was originally supposed to be Ripley for Sasha Banks, but it was changed at the last second. I'm guessing they want to save that match for another time and for a bigger time because those are two big stars that you can use. According to Fightful Select, rumors of Indie Hard Run Dakota Kai getting name changes have no truth to them, at least right now. Name changes can't stop, won't stop. Ringside News claims the current rollout of Raquel Rodriguez on SmackDown is exactly what WWE had planned and not rushed as some have speculated. According to WrestlingNews.co, there are still no plans for Roman Reigns to lose the WWE Universal Championship anytime soon. If WWE decides to keep the title on him through WrestleMania 39 next year, the idea would be to promote him as the greatest of all time. We have another GOAT up and coming. Of course, we know John Cena hit his GOAT status, and it looks like they're putting Roman Reigns on the GOAT status as far as championship wrestling goes. Though one reports GCW owner Brett Lauderdale said on his podcast that the biggest wrestling company in the world has expressed interest in their Bloodsport brand. Dave Meltzer noted it would be weird fit for WWE considering their issues with blood, but speculated it could be something for Peacock's library. Now, if we all remember Raw Underground and the horribleness of it, because we all know that Raw Underground was basically the super bastardized version of what Bloodsport is, it would not surprise me that WWE will want to go in business and put Bloodsport on Peacock, which means people will have to pay for it. And on top of that, if you want to see wrestling done in a beautiful and violent way, violent by design, if some might say, Bloodsport is how it's done, which would be interesting because if they bring in the library, you'll get a lot of John Moxley because he's done a lot of Bloodsport. John Moxley, Minoru Suzuki, Josh Barnett. You would get a lot of Moxley in there. And like, how would they, when they advertise it, would they advertise him in there? And would they change, would they redo all of the commentary and just change him to Dean Ambrose? I don't know. We will see. But if Bloodsport and WWE are in talks and it ends up on the Peacock, it will be really interesting to see how they do all of that. So we will see. Now let's talk about what's going on tonight in the world of wrestling. Tonight, WWE Raw will take place from Key Bank Center in Buffalo, New York, with more bill for the upcoming WrestleMania Backlash event. WWE has announced the following lineup for tonight, and that is Kevin Owens will give a lie detector test to Ezekiel. We have a double winner for Akira Tozawa and Tamina Snuka. And Reggie and WWE 24/7 champion Dana Brooke, officiated by R-Truth. Hopefully, Jagged Edge can make it because there's no wedding that's great enough or black enough without Jagged Edge singing Let's Get Married. WWE Women's Tag Team Champion Sasha Banks and Naomi defend against Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Hopefully this happens this week. And WWE United States Champion Finn Balor defends against Theory. And if you ask me, it feels like the Theory era will begin. Kid Get Money says almost going to be the doorman for Bloodsport. Nope, because they recorded most of these things already. So unless they're going to enter him back up in there, I doubt that's going to happen. But make sure to tune in this Saturday. We're trying to get the podcast going, the super podcast with the whole crew, going over what's going on in the world of wrestling this whole week and breaking down each show that happened. Until then, I will see you on Wednesday. Thank you for being here. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me, and I thank you for that. I'll see you Wednesday and 15 to go. Let's go, Suns.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to know when we go live next. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling on We, and thanks